Beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is the Joint Community Board 1, 2, and 3, hosting with DOT on Canal Street. I want to thank everyone for attending. I will go slower. Is that better? Testing. Better? Okay. Thank you, everybody. So this is a joint meeting from Community Boards 1, 2, and 3 as your hosts. I'm Tammy Meltzer. I'm chair of Manhattan Community Board 1, and I'm joined with my colleague.
I'm Andrea Gordillo, chairperson of Manhattan Community Board 3.
And I'm Valerie De La Rosa. I'm chair of Manhattan Community Board 2.
Okay, we want to thank everybody for coming. It's a really busy meeting. We do have interpretation for both Mandarin and Cantonese in the room.
如果閣下係要用粵語翻譯嘅，你可以去到後邊。咁我同我個合作夥伴咧就會喺後邊做粵語翻譯嘅。
各位晚安我们今天有国语的翻译服务，所以你今天需要国语的翻译服务，现场的观众，请你去后方，我们会有仪器帮助你。然后，如果你是在线上的话，你需要国语的翻译的话，请你选择西班牙语，因为我们就是西班牙语就是等于是那个国语，所以 that's it. Thank you.
We do have translation online as well. So I want to thank everybody who's here. I want to thank Council Member Chris Marte, who's joined us today. Thank you very much. I don't see any other electeds in the room, but we want to then move directly and get the ball rolling. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Betty Kay, who's our chair of transportation. She's joining us via Zoom today, so she's online somewhere. Hello, Betty. Don't know exactly where, but that's okay. And I'm going to hand the mics over for our, I'm going to start with Jess Coleman. He's our co-chair of transportation for CB1, and let them take it away. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, they don't want it. Hi, good evening. I'm Janine Kiley. I chair the Traffic and Transportation Committee for Community Board 2. If we could go to the meeting protocol, the slides that we shared. And next to me is Vinny Cerrito, who is the chair of the Traffic and Transportation for Community Board 3. And we have a lot of community board members here tonight who are here to listen. If you're a community board member of Community Board 1, 2, or 3, if you could just raise your hand. So we got a lot of people here who are listening to the public and for what we want to say. We have, as of 5 o'clock, we had 114 people sign up, both in person and Zoom, and we had 49 people sign up to speak. So if there's additional speakers, we'll do that. Everybody will get 2 minutes to speak. At 8 p.m., we're going to drop it down to 1 minute in the event we have too many people who want to speak and not enough time. And we have, there's a QR code at the entrance, there's a QR code on the screen. If you want to sign up to speak and you haven't already done so, please do so with that speaker. And just in terms of the meeting protocol, no interruptions. We're going to, after this short introduction, the DOT will give a presentation. It's our job to listen and to write down questions or comments. And when it's your turn, you can share those. We recognize that people in this room are going to have a lot of different opinions. There's a lot of things being changed or proposed in this plan. We have, 100-something people participating. We're going to have like 300 different opinions. When you speak, be brief, concise, use I phrases, not you. I like this plan for bikes. I don't like this plan for the bridge. I have questions about this. Be very specific, and personal attacks of any kind will not be tolerated, and you will be asked to leave the room or the Zoom. Everyone who signs up to speak will be given the opportunity to do so. Obviously, if we have a time crunch, we will have to shorten it, and we'll switch every 5 or so speakers between the room and Zoom. We'll call your name in the room ahead of time, and you can go to one of these two microphones, and on Zoom, when we call your name, if you could raise your hand, that's way we can elevate you. The DOT team, most of the team will leave at 8:30, but Kate Shear and possibly a few others will stay until the bitter end at 9. That's about it. I'm going to say, oops. Oh, and we have 2 more elected officials who've joined us, State Senator Brian Kavanaugh, if you could just raise your hand, and Assemblymember Grace Lee in the front row. Thank you for joining us tonight. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the DOT to start with the presentation. And we'll get your slides up in just a second.
Thank you. Just some introductions. My name is Dan Wagner. I am the Director for Project Development and Delivery at the New York City DOT's Public Realm Unit.
I'm Sam Hope, Project Manager for the Public Realm Unit.
Good evening, I'm Amy Howden-Chapman. I'm also a Project Manager for Public Realm. And we will wait for the slides to come up before we start the presentation.
Pass it down.
Okay, Ginny gave me the bad microphone. Can you hear me? My name is Danielle Zuckerman. I'm Manhattan Borough Commissioner at DOT. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We're grateful to the community board for coming together and assembling folks. We're excited to get your feedback on our proposals, and we'll be coming to the community board a couple of times in the next few months. So we'll continue to refine them based on this feedback we hear tonight and in those meetings. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks. Good evening, everyone. David, I'm Director of Strategic Initiatives at the Borough Commissioner's Office. Thank you for coming.
Okay, I might begin, and these folks I'm sure will jump in and help answer questions at the end of the presentation. So I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. You're the community experts. We're very excited to be here. This is part of a number of outreach events we've been doing over the last few months. On screen, you'll see QR codes for the online survey. That is the primary way we're collecting feedback about our proposal. There's also flyers where you signed in at the front desk. So if you haven't taken the survey already, I really encourage you to leave detailed comments. We'll of course be taking notes this evening when folks give their feedback, but the online survey is the best way for us to capture your detailed questions and concerns and support. What I'm presenting today is primarily material that is in the public realm. We've presented it on the street. We also presented it at PS30 in a science fair model. This material is available online. You can go back and look at it in your own time. The QR code sends you to the material online. We are presenting a few more slides, and that will summarize some of the feedback we've gathered over the last few months. Who is advancing my slides? Okay, next, please. So, yeah, we are reimagining Canal Street. We're here today. Next. As I mentioned, we have been doing a series of outreach events. We did 4 on-street events, and we also did an event at PS 130. I know that there's some familiar faces in this room, so many folks have been to some of those events already. A majority of the conversations that I and my colleagues had at those events were supportive of our proposal. And as I say, the digital survey is where we're really collecting the feedback. You can see on the right, there is a summary of where we're at with the digital survey. As of Friday, we had 610 answers. And you can see in the green there, do you support NYC DOT's proposal to redesign Canal Street between West Street and Bowery. A majority of you all and others in the community who've answered the digital survey have been supportive so far. So we know that not everyone is supportive, and we know that some folks are unsure and may have more questions that we're looking forward to hearing tonight. But this is a snapshot. The survey will be open through the end of the year, and as I say, you're welcome to spread the word amongst your community. We'll continue to receive feedback. One of the events we had, or sorry, two of the events were on Walker Street, and I'll get into that part of the proposal, but this is a couple of photos from the events at the bottom. On the left was the temporary closure of Walker Street for our outreach event, and we were observing, and it was successful. Folks very quickly sat down, used the space. Yeah, I will also mention that there have been some apprehensions about the proposal, the impact on businesses, especially on the eastern portion of the proposal, around gentrification, thinking about loading. We'll get into some of those issues tonight. Okay, next. Along with the kind of broad, do you support or not the proposal, we've asked you all for some, to give comments. It's really useful for us as we design the corridor to get really specific feedback, but it's also useful for us to get kind of a pulse of why you may or may not support the proposal. So on screen here, we have a spectrum of feedback. There's, as I say, hundreds and hundreds, 600 comments. These are some comments we pulled out because they're kind of representative of the kinds of things you all are saying. So many of those comments, a majority, around 80%, I said, are positive. But there's also some things folks are concerned about. So there's a lot of folks saying, for example, the more we can do to prioritize bikes and pedestrians, the better. Really supporting our proposals for wider sidewalks, for shorter crossings, for safety improvements. A lot of folks are calling for this proposal or other safety projects to be advanced faster than the current timeline we're proposing, saying we want this sooner. That was a common comment. Support for the closure of Walker Street. Many people saying that it's really difficult to bike along the Canal corridor. That's something we heard over and over again. Difficult, unsafe, dangerous, and that folks want a better connection. We also have folks saying that we need more sidewalk space for pedestrians, but we also need more loading space. That we need more sidewalk space, but they'd really like to see better amenities, trees, more plantings, kind of a nicer public realm. Towards the right of the screen, you'll see some of the comments that are representative of more concerns about the proposal. So the roads are already clogged as is, please don't make it any worse. There is a lot of comments about illegal vending, both in the survey and from talking to folks on the street. We know that vending is part of what makes Canal Street crowded for pedestrians, and so that has come up a lot in our discussions. Yeah, I think that sums up, but as I say, these are real comments that folks put in the survey, but they're also representative of the types of comments that people are giving over and over again. Next. So, like many of us, I have I'm getting over a cold. I am from the Public Realm team here with my colleagues from Public Realm, but we're also working closely on this proposal with our colleagues in cycling and micromobility. We've been doing outreach events primarily along Canal Street and Walker Street. They are looking at Grand Street as part of the bike connections. So this is a summary of their outreach that they conducted in October. Notable feedback: a lot of businesses don't have time to set up for deliveries unless there is specific commercial loading in front of their businesses along Grand Street. That folks are receiving steady deliveries throughout the week. Businesses mentioned that their delivery vehicles parked along the street have to often use hand carts, that they can't park directly in front of businesses, that they have to maneuver with hand carts. While they were doing these surveys, they also were thinking about field observations, observing what was happening. Cyclists riding against traffic. There is currently a protected bikeway along Grand Street, but it goes west to east. They were observing cyclists using it in the opposite direction. Many delivery vehicles parked in daylighted intersections and vehicles illegally parked in no standing zones. Next. So, what's driving the proposal that we're presenting tonight? I just went through some of the community feedback that we've gathered in the last couple of months and that our colleagues from the Cycling Micromobility Unit have covered. But we have been doing outreach for many years now, our unit specifically. We did a round of outreach in 2022, and that helped inform this design. We're also really driven in a lot of our work, but especially along this corridor, by crash and safety data. I'll go into that a little bit in a second. We know that Canal Street is an incredibly dangerous corridor. I'm sure you all have experienced it using it, long crossing distances. The safety data is not good, and I know that a lot of calls from the community, from elected officials to improve Canal Street come from a desire to make it a safer place for all users. We also looked very carefully at pedestrian, bike, and vehicle volumes. We know that Canal Street is a key vehicle connector from the tunnel to the bridges. We wanted to present a plan that we knew was not going to make the congestion worse according to the model, our traffic model. So that was a huge part of our design process. We have an extensive traffic model. It took multiple years, and we took counts before congestion pricing, produced the model, then we took counts post-congestion pricing just to check how that was impacting what we had analyzed. We also looked at the needs of local businesses along the corridor. We did a round of outreach in 2022, looking at all the loading needs, and we're about to go back again, visit businesses along Canal Street, figure out what their loading needs are, if they've changed in the interim years. Next. So as I mentioned, safety and crash data is really driving our design approach. Throughout the next part of the presentation, I'm going to be referring to Canal Street West and Canal Street East. It's a very long corridor. So presenting here from West Street to Bowery, we see over the last 5/6 years, there's been 175 total injuries, so unacceptably high number. And we're really looking at the intersections where there's a majority of those injuries and seeing if we can have a design solution that will make it safer for all users. Next. Canal Street East, again, a very high number, total 220, I think, yeah, that's zoomed in a little, but you can see throughout the corridor what the most dangerous intersections are. At the bridge at Bowery this year, we had 2 fatalities. We know that we can do better as a city, as an agency. Again, it's really driving our design approach. Maybe if you click out so it's full screen and then go into the next slide. So with all those factors in mind, the traffic analysis, community feedback, needs of local businesses, the crash data, we brought together these goals. So these are the goals that are driving the design approach to this project. We know that we need to relieve pedestrian crowding along Canal Street and improve sidewalk accessibility. Canal Street, it's not only a east-west connector for vehicles, a need for cyclists, but we know it's a transit hub in many ways, or a transit corridor. There's multiple subway stations. Some of those, folks are getting out of one station, making a connection to other. There's just huge volumes of folks using Canal Street for public transit connections that leads to the crowded sidewalks, as is the fact that Canal Street is a global destination as well as a neighborhood destination. We know folks from all over the world, all over New York City, all over Manhattan, all over Chinatown are coming to Canal Street to do their shopping, to see friends, to see family. So it gets crowded. It gets, people want to be on Canal Street, but there's currently not enough space for visitors and for pedestrian mobility to occur comfortably at the same time. We know, I've been through this, but just to reiterate that we want to improve crossing safety, but also comfort. We know that these are long crossing distances across Canal Street. There's often not enough time to comfortably cross, especially if you're elderly or have mobility impairments. So that's something we really want to address. We want to simplify complex intersections for all users. That's just not pedestrians or cyclists, but we want to make sure that a vehicle driving down Canal Street knows what lane they need to be in to get to their next destination, has clear direction signal timing signage and can do so safely. We want to rebalance vehicle space with public space. Again, this is a global destination. We know folks want to come here, spend time here. How can they do so in a pleasant way? And we want to improve bike connections. There's no good east-west corridor for bikes, similarly to vehicles. But we know that many cyclists, including dogs, use Canal Street to cycle on, referring to the lower right image there. Next. So just to reiterate the point about biking, we know folks are trying to get from the Hudson River Greenway, the most used cycle path in all of North America, over to the bridges. We know folks are getting from Hudson River Greenway up and down into Manhattan via Canal Street. But as you can see with the green lines, the existing bike routes on this map, there's a real lack in this whole part of Manhattan for safe, usable, good bike connections. Yeah. Next slide. All right, so now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the proposal. I'm going to walk through the proposal through 5 different sections. This is a kind of overview slide. Would you mind zooming out one more click, please? It's a slightly different format, so we're getting things cut off. Yeah, so as I mentioned, because Canal Street is, almost all of Manhattan, we've divided it for kind of purposes of communication and for purposes of planning into 2 zones, Canal Street West and Canal Street East. I will note that we are also, as a unit, as an agency, looking at improvements on Canal Street on the Lower East Side. you can see that to the top right with a dashed line around it, that those improvements are on a slightly different timeline and have a different set of kind of public engagement workshops happening around them. So we're not going to get into those tonight in detail, but just so you know, we're trying to think holistically. As we think about Canal Street West and Canal Street East, we're also trying to think about Church Street that will factor in traffic-wise, vehicle-wise, public space-wise. Again, that project, we're trying to think of it holistically, but it's on a slightly different timeline in terms of outreach. I mentioned before the Grand Street bike connection. We looked at whether or not we could have bikes on Canal Street, east to west, safely, comfortably, while maintaining the number of vehicle lanes to provide, you know, good flow of traffic, or at least not to make traffic conditions, vehicle conditions worse. And there's just not enough space for all the users along Canal Street. But we know from public comments that there is a need for that east-west bike connection. So our solution, working with our colleagues in cycling and micromobility, is to have a Grand Street bike connection that will begin at from the West Side Highway, go up Watt Street, at Varick/6th Ave. You'll have a bike connection up to Grand Street, and they're working they're looking into upgrading Grand Street as a bike east-west bike connection. So we're planning in concert with those colleagues. I can go into a little bit of the design where it does touch on Canal Street. There are 2.5 blocks where we're proposing a two-way protected bike lane on Canal Street, but a majority of the bike connection will not be on Canal Street because there's just not space for everyone. Yeah, I will note here at the bottom of the slide, there's the project timeline. We're still in kind of the green section, 2025, not over yet, still, you know, going through stakeholder outreach and coordination. We are looking to begin implementation next summer. Because this is such a vast corridor, there is a possibility that will take multiple years to implement. Part of what we're interested in receiving feedback on from the public, from yourselves, is what parts of this project would you like to see happen first? We know that a lot of people are eager for change. What intersections would you like to see happen immediately? Yeah. So timeline TBD, but we're interested in your feedback there. Next. All right, so the next 5 slides are heading west to east along Canal Street. You can see the proposed two-way protected bike lane on Watt Street at the bottom of the screen. So there's an existing crossing across West Street, the highway there. Bikes would be able to go up, hit Canal Street. For 2.5 blocks, they would be on Canal Street before they transferred up to Grand Street, either via Varick or 6th Ave. We know there's also a lot of desire to have better crossings from Canal Street to the Hudson River Park. This is a dangerous intersection here, and that's partly because there's no existing crossings. The little pink, the far left little pink dot is pointing to a crossing that currently does not exist, that we are hoping to implement, so there's better connections for the community there to reach Hudson River Park. We also know that there's some missing crossings to Canal Park. It's a kind of isolated triangle that could be better used if folks had better connections, better and safer connections. Next slide. This next section, you can see the two-way park protected bike lane. This is the section where it is carries along Canal Street for 2.5 blocks before folks would veer up to Grand Street. The way that we're making space for that bike lane is by taking the current 2 eastbound travel lanes between Varick and Light and turning it just into 1 eastbound travel lane. The traffic model says that this should function and not make conditions worse than they are today. We know that the intersection at Light Street and 6th Ave is one of the most dangerous intersections along the corridor, and the intersection where folks, you all, the public, over multiple years have asked us to make improvements. You can see there's extremely long crossing distances, and the advantage of this proposal is it would allow us to put a concrete island in there, so there would be a reprieve as you're crossing that long distance. This proposal would also simplify signal timing. Eastbound cars along Canal Street would be able to move at the same time as eastbound cars or northeast cars from Light Street. And that would mean there would be 2 phases of the signal timing rather than 3. It would mean the intersection would process more quickly. There would ideally be less congestion at that intersection. We know a lot of vehicles are trying to move from Canal Street and take a left on West Broadway. We're looking to ban that turn, partly to make vehicle movements clearer there. Also allows us to put in that concrete island, and it allows us to implement that signal timing plan at that intersection. We're also looking at putting some painted curb extensions at the top of West Broadway to really make the crossing distance there much shorter. Next slide. We're moving west to east along the corridor. So as I mentioned, we're looking at banning the the left turn on West Broadway and also on Green Street. We know that left turns are in general dangerous. We know that a lot of vehicle movements along Canal Street are vehicles trying to get into the right lane and sometimes not doing it in the most safe way. So really clarifying for drivers where they need to be, what lane they need to be in, and prioritizing pedestrians at these dangerous intersections is part of the design process here. We're again making the crossing distances at Church Street much narrower, and the same with Mercer Street again. We also are looking at streamlining the curb regulations, especially in this part of Canal Street and moving east into Chinatown. We know there's a lot of double parked vehicles. We know the rush hour lanes don't function that well or at all if there's one vehicle stopped in the middle of the rush hour lane, and that creates its own sort of congestion as vehicles have to, they're moving along the travel lane, a vehicle is parked or stopped illegally, they have to merge into the travel lanes. That itself causes congestion. Next slide, please. So this section from Broadway to Baxter Street, this is in the heart of Chinatown. We're looking at taking away that rush hour travel lane and really using that space for the primary user along this part of the corridor, which is the pedestrian. I mentioned at the top that a key goal of this project is to relieve pedestrian crowding and improve sidewalk accessibility, and this is really what we're aiming for in this central part of Chinatown. We call these super sidewalks. We think about them as kind of the fast travel lane for a pedestrian or a walker. They also have the advantage of reducing the crossing distances. We know along Canal Street, the crossing distances are very long, as I mentioned previously, especially if you're elderly or have mobility impairments. You might just not be able to get across Canal Street in a safe and comfortable way with the allocated timing. This will mean that crossing is shorter and safer for you. In order to remove that rush hour lane, we also have to remove the loading that occurs in that lane at some parts of the day, or in the central part of the day. So we're looking to put that loading onto the side streets, where, as I mentioned, we did a round of surveys with merchants in 2022, and we're going to go back, check what, if anything, has changed with their loading needs, really look at the curb regulations along all of Canal Street and the side streets, and balance what has to happen for businesses to be able to effectively carry on, get what they need, but to use this space for pedestrians, the primary user along the stretch. As part of this proposal, we're also looking at closing Walker Street from Baxter Street to Canal, that Walker Street slip, so cars would no longer be able to use that space. It would become a plaza. That's the location where there's the Chinatown information kiosk. We think this could be, well, I saw it for myself as soon as we closed it with barricades, just temporarily, it became a suddenly vibrant public space, a place for people to sit, to spend time, to enjoy Chinatown. Yeah, I think I've covered everything on the slide. So the last slide, the next slide, is the last section. I know, as I mentioned at the top, there's been 2 fatalities this year at the bridge. Our unit is coordinating with the folks who are making those improvements, and we can speak a little bit more to those, but this project does not directly address that part of Canal Street. I've mentioned the Walker Street slip closure there, but you can see the super sidewalks continue along to Elizabeth Street. There's slightly less need from Elizabeth Street to Bowery as we see it, so we do not continue the super sidewalks in that easternmost block. There's also the need for the turning lane. We are also looking at putting in concrete crossing islands where we have the space, again, to really reduce the crossing distances and make those crossings safer. We're looking at different materials for these super sidewalks, different edge materials, whether it be on the top left image where we have planters and granite blocks, or possibly a different, more robust solution that will be part of the ongoing design proposal of these spaces. But we really want to make sure that they're spaces that people feel safe walking in, that vehicles can't easily park in, that cyclists aren't using to travel speedily through, that they are pedestrian spaces, that they are pedestrian mobility zones. Yeah, I think that covers, again, the loading. We're working to think about where loading can best be allocated along the side streets. Next slide. So this is the final slide. Again, we have the QR code. I can't reiterate enough that the online survey is the kind of primary place for gathering feedback. And whatever you say tonight, feel free to go and fill it out online too. That's the best way we have of capturing like the nuance of your comments. And you are the experts of this community. If you live on a certain block, if you work on a certain block, if you cross a certain intersection every day and you have specific detailed feedback you can give us about that place, that's the most helpful for us when we revise this proposal. This is a proposal. September through now, we've been meeting, talking with folks, getting that feedback. We are going to come again to the individual community boards over the next month. We'll be presenting the same material as we are today, so just note that. But then early next year, we are taking all the feedback that we have gathered, and we're going to revise our proposal to best reflect the input that we've received from you all. As well as the input we received from our partners. We've been meeting with BIDS and other local stakeholders. I know some of you are here tonight, appreciate that, as well as taking the input from our reopened merchant survey. We will then come back to the community boards early next year and give a preview of our revised design. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll kind of work internally. We'll coordinate with all our teams internally, think about what resources we have, how much of the project we could roll out over 1 or 2 years. And then we hope to begin implementation in summer next year. I think that is all from me. Again, the flyers, and we can give into this material if needed. But I believe it's time to hand it over to you all. Appreciate your time and look forward to your comments.
We are so excited. So many people signed up to speak. We have 76 people who've signed up to speak. So we are going to drop the time to 90 seconds. We know, so if you're sitting in your seat waiting for your turn, please prep your comments for 90 seconds. And at 8 p.m., we will still drop down to a minute because we want to hear from everyone. So we're going to call 5 people to come to the stand, to the microphones, and then we'll call 5 people from Zoom to raise your hand and people will promote you. We're going to start with in person, and our apologies, the way the data was collected, we don't have your name, we have your email address. So the first 5 people, if you could come up, and is Healthy 1668, I'm not going to read the end, Kevin Watts, the Chinatown Core, this person's twice, Thomas, New York, Emily Jacoby, and Edward Cuccia. If you guys could sign up. I'm going to call the first 5 Zoom people. You can raise your hand and our team will be promoting you, but you'll go after these speakers. Laura Tenenbaum, Thomas Altman, Yuki Washishiro, Kathy, New York, and JS Gallery Info. Okay, so again, you have 90 seconds and we will start with Jan, you're healthy?
Healthy is another person.
Okay, who is healthy?
That's Eleanor.
Eleanor. All right, Eleanor, you're first.
My friend, is this it?
And when you're done, when you'll give you a 10-second warning, so look to us. Thank you.
Well, I just want to say that my friend Callie said that she can give me her time. 1 minute. She signed up. Okay. All right. My name is Eleanor.
The other person signed up. We can, she'll just get her turn when it's her turn.
Okay. Hi, my name is Eleanor. I've been living in Chinatown, working in Chinatown for 30 years. So my office is right at the corner of Canal and Mud Street at the big bank, and my dad's is right in front of Canal Street. Every day I walk across Canal Street, so I have witnessed a lot of what's going on there. And the tragedy that happened last time recently, even though it has something to do with the intersection of the Manhattan Bridge and Canal Street, but the major reason is the driver was drunk and she was being detained before. She had other accident before, but the city does not let her out. So this is a major reason that caused a tragedy. And also, actually, those 2 victims are related to my company. One works for my main office as a mortgage officer, and the other is our client. So you can see how that we are, okay? And I think the plan, of course, I understand DOT want to improve the traffic safety. However, some of the solution does not work well for our community. For example, like narrowing of Canal Street, it's going to be really congestion for the traffic from Manhattan Bridge to Holland Tunnel. And then widening,
Thank you very much. Okay,
so I spent all night doing this and
thank you. And we also will be taking, thank you so much. And we have Kevin Watts.
Hi, thank you, everyone. My name is Kevin Watts. I've been a resident of Lower Manhattan for almost 9 years now. I'm a frequent user of Canal Street for transit, for work and shopping. I work in my day job in renewable energy projects, big projects, wind turbines, solar farms. And I just want to say that to the DOT, it is a great step to begin this redesign process. And I would encourage only to step further into it, to become bolder with the idea of making Canal Street a place, not just a conduit for traffic and for the kinds of safety hazards that we've seen in the presentation preceding, and to make it a place that can address the needs of all the neighborhoods that it touches. It touches more neighborhoods potentially than any avenue in the city. In my line of work, in large energy projects, in aerospace in which I used to work, if there is a product or a project that has 100 crashes per year, that produces 2 fatalities per year, that produces the level of destruction that the current design of Canal does, we stop that product. We stop that project. We redesign it. And so I encourage the DOT and the communities to come together for an even bolder redesign. Thank you.
The Chinatown Core. Jan, thank you.
Hi, thank you, community boards, and thank you to our elected officials for taking the time with us today. I want to say something that I learned today, that I hope that the organization Transportation Alternatives that keeps invoking the name of May Kwok either stops doing it or at least invokes the name of the other Chinese woman in our community who lost her life to a bicycle rider. If you're going to invoke our names in Chinatown, you do it equally the way that we do, because it shouldn't matter how you were killed before you invoke the names every time you appear before an audience. But I want to say this. When I was 14 and Thank you. When I was 14 and a half years old, I used to walk from Mott Street to Canal Street to the A train to get to LaGuardia High School in Harlem. And I would walk back the next day. I would get my hot dog and my egg cream at Dave's Corner. And I did that for 4 years without incident. My sister did it 10 years before me. The Canal Street that I knew is not the Canal Street that we have today. And it's amazing that we could sit through a presentation like that and make believe that Canal Street looks the way it does without showing the illegality, the crime, the violence, and everything that causes sidewalks to be impassable. Why is that not being represented here? And I think that that is something that is absolutely intolerable. So as much of the research that you're doing and the fact that you show so many people who are for this plan, show the reality of what's happening. I talked to Alvin Bragg and I said that we need to have a multi-jurisdictional cooperation, and we are not getting it. So I mentioned it at CCBA. You guys didn't bring any evidence that you have done the work even since the CCBA meeting. That again is disgraceful. Do not come to our community until you have shown us that you have done the work interagency before you pour concrete into the sidewalks.
Thank you, Jim. Okay. Okay. Hey, you guys. Okay. We love the applause. Can we do jazz hands? Because every time we applaud, we take time away from the public speaking. Thomas, New York, New York.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, I'm Dr. Thomas Chen. And I have practiced medicine on Canal Street for more than 32 years. Under the DOT plan, all parking spaces on Canal Street from Broadway to Elizabeth Street will be removed, and only 2 exit traffic lanes will remain. There are hundreds of restaurants, stores, and many banks in Chinatown, as well as hundreds of medical offices along Canal Street. If all the parking spaces on Canal Street are removed, we are very concerned where the food and good delivery truck will unload, and where all the band and jewelry on a vehicle will deliver cash into a valuable, and where will ambulance drop off my patient Remember, we have hundreds of medical officers on Canal Street who rely on wheelchair and walkers. Are you asking to walk like a few blocks crossing the Canal Street? And if all these vehicles are forced to stop and operate in the active traffic lane, so Canal Street will effectively be reduced to a single working traffic lane in each direction. That will create severe congestion on the Canal Street, spilling over to the Holland Tunnel, Manhattan Bridge, and surrounding side street. As a result, the traffic throughout the area will be totally paralyzed. That will be detrimental to the entire neighborhood, not just the Canal Street, and can lead to a major economic disaster for Chinatown and Little Italy. Before considering sidewalk widening, ensuring sidewalk properly managed according to the CAS 2 study conducted in 2010. There are too many illegal and legal vendors obstructing the Canal Street sidewalks. Minimum 8-foot clear pedestrian pathway must be maintained.
Thank you, Dr. Chan.
Safe. In addition, I would consider adding Central Island and installing a curb extension at the crosswalk, not the whole sidewalk expansion for pedestrian safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, jazz hands, you guys. Before we get to our next two speakers in person, I would like, we're going to go to Zoom. Raise your hand if you haven't already been elevated. Laura Tenenbaum, Thomas Altman, Yuki Washishiro, Kathy, New York, and JS Gallery. Okay, and we're going to go to Emily Jacoby. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Oh, can you hear me? My name is Emily Jacoby. I'm here representing Transportation Alternatives. That's right. 10 fatalities on Canal since 2014 is too many. We all agree with that. No lives should be lost on our streets. It doesn't matter by what mode. It doesn't matter by where. This is a long needed safety redesign, and I am grateful to every single person in this room coming together to figure out the tactics that work best for this corridor. At Transportation Alternatives, we are advocating for curb extensions. We are advocating for delivery zones that work along Canal Street, specifically because we need to rebalance the street for pedestrians who DOT themselves designate as the primary users of this street. However, that does not mean that sidewalks don't matter, that don't need to be managed, that don't need to be upgraded and kept clear. Some of the hazards we've seen on Canal over the years have been box blocking by cars, have at all times of day, no matter what, have been ADA inaccessible sidewalks that no one can navigate, let alone someone getting off their car and up the street to their appointments. We need a comprehensive look at this corridor. We will find those solutions together, and I appreciate your time tonight.
And Justin Kucha.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Edward Kucha.
No problem. Hi, my name is Ed Kucha. How are you? First things first, I live on Canal Street. My wife and I live on the corner of Mulberry and Canal. We work there, we live there, and have done so for many years. I'm also a member of the Chinatown Bid, but I'm speaking in my personal capacity in that my wife and I fully and completely oppose the redesign that was expressed here today. And I can offer the reasons why for Dr. Thomas Chan, for what Jan said. We fully agree with that. But in a more of a global capacity, I've been asked to speak on behalf of certain Little Italy groups, including the Little Italy Merchants Association, the Figli di San Gennaro, and other Little Italy folks who also do not agree with the redesign. Thank you so much. Have a pleasant day, everyone.
We're going to go online. We're going to start with Laura Tenenbaum and go from there. And if Thomas Altman, Yuki Washishiro, Kathy, New York, and JS Gallery, please raise your hand so we can elevate you.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, my name is Laura Tenenbaum. I live in the neighborhood. I've lived in the neighborhood for more than 50 years. It's been close to 25 years since I was on a borough president Canal Street task force headed by Sam Schwartz, trying to take care of some of the traffic and pedestrian issues on Canal Street. Clearly, it didn't happen then. And I'm hopeful that this will turn into something that's very positive for the neighborhood. Looking at this, and I just want to do some pinpointed comments. I think it's a good idea. I think it's needed. I had hoped by the time this was put into effect, we would have less cars coming through traffic coming along Canal Street, and I think that's something that has to be worked on more to somehow cut the through traffic off. There's no reason through traffic should be in Central Business District. That said, I do have some concern. I spent this afternoon, morning on the
10 seconds, Laura.
Oh, sorry. That's all that I'm going to say then. I'll send everything else in writing. Thank you.
Next is Thomas Altman. Do we have anybody on deck? I am not logged into the Zoom. Is anyone on deck? Ready to go? Okay, if not, we're gonna go back to in person, if that's okay. So, 4 people have their hands up. Are you, please elevate the people who've raised their hands. If there are, I know, I can't say that. Who are they? Okay, if you guys could sort that out, we're gonna go back to in person while we figure this out. Please come up to the microphones. Amy Lim, 33 Happy Me, Michael Hassan, AW 2312, it's an NYU one, and Sean Sweeney. Okay. Amy, why don't you go ahead? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amy Lim Kuchir, and my husband and I live in Little Italy and Canal Street. We are like Little Italy and Chinatown connected. My husband and I totally disagree with the redesign because I don't think this is helping Chinatown at all and helping Little Italy. So we disagree with the redesigning. Thank you.
33 Happy Me, is that anyone here?
It's on Zoom.
Oh, Kathy Chan is on Zoom? Okay.
Hi.
Thank you.
Do you hear
Let's go.
me? Hello. Hi, do you hear me?
Why don't you go ahead, please? You have 90 seconds. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Chan. I've been living and working in the area Chinatown for over 45 years, and I still have a lot of relatives, friends living in the area, and I knew many merchants, stores, restaurant owner, grocery supermarket. They totally oppose the plan because it is not a good plan. Please have the community and BID consult the local restaurant residency, instead just put a sign in front of the BID booth. The BID booth, they put a sign that's for visitor. They are not represent Chinatown. Please, I totally oppose the plan. Please come to the community and do a wallet survey, not just put a sign on the corner of the street, ask those outside people. And also, please just extend the crosswalk instead to extend the whole sidewalk. And totally, what happens if there's an emergency vehicle? You guys jeopardize the whole Chinatown area people, and also the people all the way to BQE and the Manhattan Beach. How can those emergency vehicles access to
10 seconds
all the
left.
area? Please take reconsideration and consult everybody in the area, not outside people.
Thank you. Michael Hassan.
Hey, my name is Michael. I live in CB1. I work in CB3. My office's entrance is on Canal Street. It's a Canal Hudson. I walk and bike to work, but I don't use Canal Street because the conditions there are not hospitable to human life. So I use shortcuts, detours. I'd love to use Canal Street or the Grand Street bike lane. I think that's a great plan too. Every time I cross the street to try to get to work, I imagine to myself that this might be the last time I do so because I'll get hit by a driver and not be able to walk anymore. I'd urge the DOT to accelerate the plan. We've been waiting for this redesign a very long time. I'd love to see us start as early as possible and continue to collect feedback and do upgrades as time passes. But I feel like beginning of next summer is too long to wait for these critically necessary upgrades. Thank you.
Thank you. Very efficient. And the NYU email. Thank you. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Alex Wong. My family has roots in Chinatown, and my grandmother lives in Chinatown, 90-year-old grandmother. And I've worked and lived and gone to school in CB1 and 2. I'm strongly in support of the proposal by the DOT, and I urge it to be done as quickly as possible. My grandmother, who lives in Chinatown, has a heart condition. It makes it very difficult for her to walk quickly and needs to be supported. And I fear for her safety when she's out on the street. I think that I really support having hardened daylighting and curb intersections and pedestrian barriers to help support safety. And I'm really concerned for the safety of the elders in the neighborhood. And again, there were almost nearly a death a year since 2014, with an average age of 75, which is even younger than my grandma's age. So I really support the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Sean goes, I'm going to call Zoom speakers. Raise your hand in case you didn't go already. Thomas Altman, Yuki Washishiro, Kathy New York, JS Gallery, Doris Ling Cohen, Mai Relch, and Michael Grimm. What? Okay. They should raise your hand if I have called your name, and then you will be elevated. Thank you. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. My name's Sean Sweeney. I'm the director of the Soho Alliance, a volunteer community group, unlike some of the paid lobbyists who are here tonight. I basically, on the west side, the Hudson Square, Soho part is pretty good, but I just question, if you're going to cut off northbound on West Broadway and Green, how are they going to get into Soho? They're going to have to go up Spring and drive around. I think you're making more traffic than you really need to. But overall, I don't think the plan is good. Why? Because if you build it, they will come. Build what? Extend the sidewalks, remove a driving lane. And who will come? The illegal peddlers who have been taking over the streets for the last year. So you're just inviting trouble. Canal Street was paved over in 1820. We got along for 200 years. Fine, without it being extended. The Holland Tunnel was built in 1920. Traffic has moved along. All of a sudden, we have to reduce the traffic, the flow of traffic. I mean, I don't own a car. I'm not invested in this, but it's not a smart idea. And as far as the Walker Street extension, well, if you close that, cars going down Walker Street, where are they going to go? They're going to have to create more congestion, trying to get onto Canal Street. And with all respect, you said it was a success. I looked at it closely in your little
10 seconds.
Your little chairs, and no one was sitting in the chairs. That was I don't know. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
No one wants to sit in Canal Street.
Thank you. Okay. We are going to go to Zoom. Has anyone raised their hand? Okay. We'll just go with the first person whose hand's raised. Is that Aura Rosenberg? Thank you. Go ahead, Aura. You have 90 seconds. You're muted. You need to unmute.
I've lived on Canal Street for 50 years. I was actually run over by a truck at the intersection of Canal and Mercer a while back. And I'd like to say a few things. I don't know how I feel about this specific proposal. But regarding pedestrian congestion, it's the vendors. A number of people have said that. It's the vendors. You enlarge the sidewalk, you're going to give them more room for their displays. The police completely turn a blind eye to it. They do a little theater, it gets into the newspapers, round people up. The next day they're not there. If you want to get pedestrian congestion down, you have to get rid of those vendors. Secondly, and just enlarging the sidewalks is just going to make more vendors. I would think maybe if we did narrow Canal Street to put a green strip down the middle. I haven't heard anybody mention that. Secondly, the car and truck congestion. What about that Verrazano Bridge with tolls on both directions? People just use the Holland Tunnel to save money. If you want to cut down on traffic, you've got to look at that situation as well. So I think that you're talking a lot about cosmetics.
10 seconds.
Yeah, and you're not going to make it any safer. This has nothing to do with safety.
Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have another hand raised? Claudia Vargas Decker, please.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for giving me the floor. Now, I don't understand why priority is given to car traffic on Canal Street with this proposal. Cars already occupy most of the city's public space. Most cyclists are New York City residents, voters, and taxpayers. Most drivers are not. Now, this project is not ambitious enough and does not take into account that bicycle traffic will increase in the future due to climate change. The actual plan will not satisfy future needs. Now, in the end, any bike path should be protected. Otherwise, cars will keep using it as a stop, lingering, and even parking space, putting bikers in danger, making us go on the sidewalk or be thrown into traffic. There should also be 5 to 10 bike racks per street. There are usually at least 15 parking spaces per street. Bikers are not second-class citizens. We don't pollute. One car parking space represents at least 5 to 10 bike parking spaces. And we're just sick of being second-class citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. And I cannot read the name. Who is that?
Mural Mural.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay, I mean, I agree with Ora about that. Many years ago, when our children were young, they talked about the pollution caused by the trucks going across Canal Street, which has not gotten better. And there's got to be another route for trucks. This doesn't seem to address the fact that we need fewer cars and trucks on Canal Street. And the other thing I had to say is you don't need to wait. We've been waiting so long for this. I remember another meeting. It was more than 10 years ago where we said exactly the people who lived here. I've lived on Canal Street for 50 years. If you just put some traffic cops on the intersections and stopped cars from stopping in the intersection and stopping in the crosswalks right now, you could do that next week and it would solve a lot of these problems before you get into any big, huge redesign. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is that it for Zoom at the moment? Okay. Christopher Saunders, you're highlighted now. Please go, 90 seconds.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you, everyone. I just wanted to speak out in support of this plan by DOT. I realize that the sidewalk is completely taken up by vendors and I hate it like everyone else. But I'm happy with the bike lane treatment. I'm kind of glad it's not going directly on Canal Street for most of it. So I think that was good. And then, the cyclists are going to use the sidewalk if they don't if they don't have the bike lane, and I need them to go on the bike lane. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to say. But overall, this is a good start, and then we can get some data, and then we can revise what the dot has here after it's been tested. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Schubert. Catherine, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So,
Okay.
sorry, Starkin here. I would like to say that on behalf of all the people who live in this area for over 30 years, yes, we are the experts to the woman who first spoke. This plan, of course, you need to protect bicyclists, but when I'm looking at it, and I am a bicyclist and a car owner, I live on Varick Street between Watts and Grand. Have you even been down here to that woman? I mean, the west side lane coming down Varick, where you're going to hit Watt Street, people can just drive down it. They're not supposed to turn into tunnel, but they often will. And then you're going to come, you have the two other lanes just flying down to get to Canal Street. And you think this is a good way to shift the bicycles from Lake Street over to Grand and then take away Grand Street from us? Like, where are we going to be able to turn to get to our building if we can't turn onto West Broadway? If you can't turn onto Green Street? I want there to be safety for the bicyclists, but this is ridiculous. And you do need to start ticketing these people who are creating the traffic problems. And also, one last thing, those people coming down the West Side Highway on their bicycles are riding e-bikes, which is not legal and it's not safe, and it's going to become less safe.
10 seconds.
Okay, I'm done with all of you.
Thank you. We're going to go back to people in the room. I'm going to call the names: Elle Camry, Catherine Freed, Xingwei Young, Kagni Waiwa Chin, and Chinosh One. If you guys could line up, we'd appreciate it. First up is Elle Camry, and please say your full name.
Luke Camry. The L is for Luke. Awesome. Thank you so much. I was really excited to come tonight because I live right off of Canal between Hester and Grand, and I'm very excited about a lot of the elements of the redesign. I primarily cross Canal on Bowery, right by the Manhattan Bridge, and that I think I learned during COVID, where I was spending a lot of time over there, that it's one of the hardest for New Yorkers with mobility issues. A lot of, I have aging parents. It's often difficult if you're crossing the street, if you're crossing Canal anywhere between the bridge and the tunnel with someone who is slower than average. You realize how slow those light times are, how wide that street is. And frankly, like a lot of people have mentioned, it is just, it is a car sewer, because it's not people coming to our neighborhood, it is people rushing between New Jersey and Brooklyn. And so the box is blocked constantly. You're walking around cars. So I really like all the elements of the proposal that you're doing to try and make those intersections protected, safer, and easier for all New Yorkers to cross. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Freed.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Catherine Freed. I used to be the council member downtown. I've lived and worked downtown for over 50 years. I'm glad that people are looking at this, but I'm not sure this plan is practicable. I mean, the bottom line is, first, it's been said before, you need more enforcement. You have to get the illegal vendors off of Canal Street so people can walk on it. And if you slow down the traffic, which this will do, all that means is more of the traffic will go to more of the side streets, and you'll have more pollution, more congestion, and still continue to have problems with them. I think you cannot do this plan piecemeal. I think you have to look at the entire street pattern downtown in the area around Canal Street and figure out a way to make all the streets work so that you can still get people across town or make them go around. But we've had problems with pedestrians downtown for a long time. You need more enforcement there. I think the idea of putting a cop on every corner, or at least a TEA, is probably, unfortunately, a good idea, and maybe the only thing that's going to actually get people across the street safer. Either that, or you bring those railroad arms down and you stop traffic so that people can walk. But frustrated drivers don't stop. They speed up to try and make the light, or
Thank you, Catherine.
lights. So I suggest you go back to the drawing board and look at it and look at a comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Okay. Jazz hands, guys. Xingwei Young.
Wei Hua-chen here. Thank you very much. We have heard a lot of really, really good ideas over here, and they pretty much say, this plan stinks. This is all nonsense because it is a luxury plan you've got, not for the people who are working, not for the people who have to go to the doctors, not for the people who need to be able to get their deliveries into the stores. All those vendors are threatening. They're not even just a nuisance and illegal, but they are threatening our pedestrians, threatening them. There have been more crimes because of that. We need to have the people, the solutions of having the traffic cops, you could call them whatever you want, your traffic associates, because those will help. And to bring up May Kwok, as Jan said before, without saying that this was a crime. This was not just an accident. It was a crime. People with a stolen car, with weapons, with drugs, who are barreling down at such a speed. It was horrific. Those are things that this plan will never address. You're dancing around and saying it will address it. It will not. And so you're lying to us. Fix it. Fix this plan. This plan must be a lot better so that we have the people who will help us and help our community not kill it.
Okay. What are you, Xingwei Young?
Yeah, Xinghua Yang.
Okay.
So I believe what is happening here is unprecedented. The Canal Street redesign, Chinatown connections, the mega jail, and the rebuilding of 70 Mulberry Street are all scheduled to overlap. This is an extraordinary cluster of simultaneous construction projects concentrated in one of the city's most fragile small business districts. No other neighborhood in Manhattan has been asked to absorb this level of disruption at once. A major contributor to sidewalk crowding is the lack of enforcement on vending regulations, both licensed, unlicensed, legal, illegal. If DOT admitted that as the real cause, the solution would require enforcement, not the removal of lanes or the creation of super sidewalks. DOT frames this redesign as necessary for safety and reducing crossing distance. But however, those issues can be solved by curb extensions, pedestrian islands, and signal timing changes, all tools DOT currently uses throughout the city without eliminating lanes. Lane removal here is not a necessity, but a policy choice. This redesign feels more like an ideological goal of shifting Canal Street away from vehicles entirely, rather than addressing the operational realities and practical needs of this community. DOT can also alleviate delivery congestions by simply adjusting parking regulations and enforcing them to unloading hours in the morning. Chinatown and Little Italy rely on deliveries as well as accessibility for seniors and customers who come here from all over the region. The goal should be to support the economic life of the community. We need practical, targeted solutions to reduce sidewalk crowding, improve safety, and ensure deliveries and accessibilities remain intact. Instead, this redesign, combined with the years of overlapping construction, is likely to increase congestion, complicate deliveries, and make the neighborhood less accessible to the people and businesses who depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Vinny, who's going to take over for calling people. We'll start with 5 people on Zoom. If everyone who wants to speak on Zoom, just raise your hand. We will elevate you in the order your hands are raised because we don't have, it doesn't seem to be working another way. And we'll take the first 5 hands that are raised on Zoom. Thank you.
Claudia?
Hi, I just wanted to add that something else that needs to be taken into account is scooter drivers, electric scooter and electric bikes. There should be lanes for those as well because they shouldn't be mixed with bikes. People have the right to choose those modes of transportation, and so there should be some public space for them as well. We're all citizens. We're not second-class citizens. So don't give all priority to cars. Thank you so much.
Do we have other hands up? Adam?
Yeah, thanks. Good evening. I'm I work in Lower East Side, and I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here in strong support of the proposed street redesign that narrows vehicle lanes and expands sidewalks. And I'm coming at this from the angle of the Vision Zero commitment that was made in 2014. Yeah, I was also hit by a car while I was riding a bike, so I feel pretty strongly about this. So over the past years, the city has shown the same pattern as the nation, and that crashes concentrate on wide, fast corridors, where people walking and biking have the least protections. So narrowing the streets and accounting for this and lowering the speed through structural changes will address that issue and hopefully reduce any fatalities, like someone early on pointed. Any fatality is a mistake and should be viewed as a failure. So since the launch of Vision Zero in 2014, there's been some success, but the gains have not been felt equally across all communities. And addressing a large corridor like Canal will help address some of the inequities that have shown in the data for the reduction in pedestrian deaths and biking deaths. So structural changes will ensure sustained change. And one factor showing this is that an uptick in pedestrian deaths in 2024 showed that, we still have a lot of progress to make. So narrow lanes, reduce speed, dramatically lower the probability of someone of a collision being fatal. So I'm really in favor of improvements that make the street feel like a place for people and not just a conduit for cars.
Thank you. Next up is Michael Sofair.
Hello. My name is Michael Sofair. I live at 35 Mercer on the corner of Mercer and Grand. I share a lot of the frustrations people express about enforcement, both in traffic and in vendors. I'm going to assume that you guys actually have a little control over enforcement and just move on from that. I think it's great to reduce the presence of cars in Texas. So in general, I appreciate that one very specific request, which is that we're getting at home from the West Highway in this current plan on beach, left on room, left on green, left on grand, which is a little bit ridiculous. And if everyone who lives near me has to do that, those streets will become even more.
Thank you.
So I can actually tell you what he was going to say. I love with him. The main point.
Sorry. I'm sorry. We're still going.
Anyway,
so we have
left on 6th Avenue is absolutely necessary for this to be workable. All right, thanks.
I'll just take 5 seconds.
Understood.
The big point is the left turn into Soho. This is a huge problem. We won't be able to get home on the on the times that we need a car. I mean, enforcement, sure, all these issues, but I think that's the issue you didn't get to.
Thank you. Tommy Loeb.
Thank you. I live on Grand and the FDR Drive, and we already suffer from bumper to bumper traffic, both on the FDR Drive, northbound and southbound, due to congestion pricing and the FDR Drive being a free zone to the Brooklyn Bridge. Any plan which diverts more traffic to Grand Street would make our life more miserable, increase the pollution in our community, and add to the additional pollution we're already getting from congestion pricing. I looked today at the MTA's data, and traffic has not been reduced due to congestion pricing. In fact, it's increased in some cases. So I would like to know, where can I get the actual current data of crosstown traffic from the Manhattan Bridge to the Holland Tunnel prior to congestion pricing and currently right now? Because I think that has to drive this plan enormously. Because to the gentleman before, creating a better path for pedestrians and bikes on Canal Street may make life much worse on the side streets, which will make pedestrians much less safe as drivers try to negotiate the very narrow streets of Chinatown, Soho, and the Lower East Side. Thank you.
And Daniel Sutton.
Hey, I don't know why my Zoom name has changed. I have no idea why it's saying I'm Daniel Sutton. My name is Rachel Wilkerson. I'm going to go ahead and speak, but that's just a weird glitch. Okay. My name is Rachel Wilkerson, and I'm here as a neighbor and car owner in District 1 who cares deeply about making our sidewalks safer for all New Yorkers. I'm thrilled to see the proposed curb extension, sidewalk extension, safe bike connections, and traffic calming measures. We really can't afford to wait any longer, but we need more. That means more loading zones, more turn calming, and more reduction to only 2 travel lanes going into and out of the tunnel. Canal sidewalks and curbs must all be ADA accessible, the full length of the corridor, and the base of the Manhattan Bridge needs a comprehensive safety plan to improve the terrifying intersection where anyone walking by can tell at a glance how dangerous it is and where 2 people lost their lives in a senseless and avoidable crash this summer. That could have been any one of us, and if nothing is done, it will most definitely happen again. The highest priorities at every intersection along Canal Street should be safety and traffic calming. Curb extensions, hardened daylighting, and pedestrian barriers should be implemented everywhere. We need to prioritize safety and visibility over the needs of car owners who are in the minority compared to pedestrians in this area and who overwhelmingly do not live here. But even if they did, it still wouldn't be okay for them to regularly mow us down as they make their way across town. Locals are bearing the cost of the negative environmental health and safety outcomes because elected
10
officials
seconds.
need to stand up to the worst car owners. We can't wait 4 years for paint and bollards. We need a redesign and we need it fast. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to go for 5 more in-house here. Chinochi 1, SG 170A, Wilkardson. She just went. Thank you. The next one is, that was Wilkardson. Chilok 12, Dan Miller Lists, and Andy Ped. And we're also going to go for Liam Jeffries. And Chinoche 1.
Oh, okay, fine, thank you.
If you could just pronounce also your name too.
Chinoche 1 is Irving Lee.
Thank you.
I'm a longtime resident of Canal Street. And actually, for this particular school, I helped participate in getting the school built in the 1970s with Judy Gorman Jacobs. I don't know if you know who she was, a folk singer, WBAI radio. But anyway, I just want to point out that the plan itself being proposed will have negative consequences for our community in Chinatown, especially our businesses. It's going to restrict our ability to deliver goods, and parking, of course, is going to be an issue for those who park and drive in and shop in the community. It would have negative consequences, and it would destroy businesses if this goes into effect. And of course, that eliminates the tax base, and it's going to ruin the community if this takes place. I think there's better alternatives. Obviously, in terms of operating of cars, I think it's a national issue. We should have electric cars, and we don't have electric cars and electric trucks. I've been in China, and they do have that. That shows you the role of the Communist Party doing the right thing, as opposed to some of these nonprofits over here not doing the right thing. One claimed to be an environmentalist, and I don't know what they're doing in terms of environmental work. It's not happening in the United States. So those questions have to be addressed. But this particular plan is not going to address the congestion issue or the pedestrian issue, as pointed out earlier. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Dan Miller. This issue is very personal for me. I have a recurring medical appointment on Center Street, close to Canal, and so I'm in the neighborhood frequently. To get there, I bicycle, and I'm usually walking around after that. So it's really important to me that we keep pedestrian and cyclist safety at the forefront of this plan, and not just safety, but comfort. That means shortening crossing distances, which is a great way to make intersections safer, but also is just more pleasant. New York is a walking city. This is a city where most people get around on foot, via transit, or via bike most of the time. Cars are a marginal mode, especially in a super dense area like Canal Street, and they don't deserve as much space as they have. Instead, we need to use that space more effectively and more efficiently with wider sidewalks, with treatments that make being a pedestrian more pleasant and more accessible. The sidewalks on Canal right now are seriously overcrowded. It feels like you're in a traffic jam just walking down the sidewalk, and that's because there isn't enough space for the volume of pedestrians. So we need to bring in more wider sidewalks, and I support this plan, and I hope that it gets implemented quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go to the right hand.
Hi, my name is Anna Goldstein. I'm a resident of Chinatown and I shop and cross Canal Street very often. I oppose this redesign of Canal Street. I think there is no need for super sidewalks, and instead what's needed is the enforcement of laws against the illegal vendors, because the sidewalks on Canal by Chinatown are already quite wide. I also oppose the reduction of lanes on Canal Street. I urge the keeping of the parking lanes for deliveries, for loading, for handicap drop-offs, and emergency vehicles, which are absolutely necessary. If needed, at the corners, there can be street markings to shorten the crossing distance for pedestrians. Actually, I am more fearful of scofflaw cyclists than I am of cars, because I can see the cars and they are not zipping in and out and speeding. And I also think that the survey responses are not reflective of the community. So please ask the community, not people on the street.
Can I just get your email too? Sorry. We just want to make sure we got the right speaker. I apologize.
SG170A.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you. And we'll go with you, sir.
Thank you for holding this meeting. My name is Chi Lok. I have worked in the neighborhood, Chinatown, Soho, and Lower East Side for over 30 years. And recently I have retired and I still volunteer in the community. About a year and a half ago, I was hit by an e-bike and I flew 10 feet onto the street. So lucky, fortunately, I'm still alive. Thank you. I'm a driver, I'm a bicyclist, and I'm walking slower than before. It is with heavy hearts that May and Kevin were killed by the DWI driver. This reactive and reimagined plan to provide safety will be at risk of hurting the community and the general public. The reduction of driving lanes and parking spaces will cause more harm to the business and loss of jobs. Business need delivery spaces. Chinatown is a natural retirement community. Many families come to visit their parents and take them out for outings. My second point is the expansion of the sidewalk is another ill-advised plan. Okay, the more you create, the more illegal vendors will occupy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Liam Jeffries. I'm a lifelong Manhattan resident, and I am here to express my strong support for this plan. Canal Street and the area around it has long been, first and foremost, pedestrian and cyclist areas. The vast majority of residents here are car-free and walk, bike, or use transit from any of the 11 subway lines that serve it. An extremely small fraction of area residents and customers using Canal Drive. Considering this, the current situation on Canal is untenable and dangerous for the majority of its users to a despicable degree. You've already heard how packed sidewalks are, and quite frankly, even before the vendors blamed for this were there, sidewalks were already packed. And a big contributing factor to this is these sidewalks are much smaller than the other streets in Manhattan like it. If you go to Austin or any of the major crosstown streets in Midtown, you will not see sidewalks this narrow. To simply bike on Canal involves a level of personal risk unacceptable to foist on a New Yorker. And with all due respect to how these cyclists are commonly presented, including tonight, their lives and rights as New Yorkers, as New York Street users, matter just as much as everyone else's, and any statement that tries to imply otherwise is morally repugnant. This is an unacceptable situation, and we simply cannot afford to wait any longer to do something, not when the level of risk for most of its users is this stark, and not when willful inaction risks killing another New Yorker. This needs to happen now, and I encourage swift action on it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We're going to go back to folks on Zoom, but we know there are more people that want to speak on Zoom, but you don't have your hands up. If you could put your hands up, we will call on the first 5 that put their hands up. But we're going to shift to the in-person now, back again. But again, if you're on Zoom, put your hand up so we can call on you after we go through 5 more folks in-house here. Next one is Andy Ped, Bill Ferns, Bill at WB Arc, Do the Hustle Now.
Thank you.
Azor 7985. And Alan Eric Yu. I love these emails, so thank you. Thank you for all of them.
Okay, my name is Andrea Peterson, not Andy Pidd, but it's close. Anyway,
Thank you.
I live in CB2. I've worked and taught in CB1 and walked across Canal Street for over 40 years. I know firsthand how Canal Street is dangerous, and it's only gotten more so in the amount of time that I've lived here and crossed here, walked my kids to school, went to work, And the thing is that there are 3 times as many pedestrians using Canal Street, and yet 90% of the space is allocated to vehicles. So you end up creating a 7-lane highway when the majority of people that use that street are walking, not even cycling. And I'm a cyclist, and I'm not going to cycle on Canal Street because it's so damn dangerous. So I really support this plan, and I think that widening the sidewalks is not such a big deal when it comes to people's safety. I've been on Canal Street walking with people that are in wheelchairs, and the sidewalks are a mess. There are so many holes in the sidewalk. When you try to cross the curbs, you can't even do that. So these are very small problems, and I think as wonderful as this plan is, I think it has to happen sooner, especially if you can be doing things like putting those medians in the middle of the street. Elderly people can walk across the street much more easily. You can have seating along the way for elderly people. I think there's a lot to be done, and it could be done sooner. Thank you.
Thank you. And just for folks, you want to speak as close as you can to the microphone so everyone in the room can hear you. So please do that. I'll make sure I do that too as well. And folks for online joining us on Zoom, please put your hand up. We know you want to speak. We're not seeing any hands, so please put up some hands, but go for you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Bill Bialowski. I'm an architect. I've lived on Walker Street since 1989, and I work on Green Street between Canal and Grand for the last 30 years as well. Let me start by saying I appreciate the DOT making this effort to make Canal Street safer and beautify it. However, I think I have some serious concerns about it. My first is emergency access, reducing the Canal Street from 6 lanes to 4, and eliminating the left turns and stacking up the corners for the right turns onto Broadway are going to back up traffic. Traffic is not going to be more accessible. We are not going to be able to get emergency vehicles across town. It is one of the 2 only crosstown streets we have downtown. I think that you should reconsider the layout of this to go from 6 lanes to 5, leaving a middle lane open for emergency vehicles so that we can get back and forth. My second concern is really about Walker Street specifically. I'm representing the Walker Street Homeowners Association. The park we're making at the end of Walker Street is going to turn it into a parking lot. It already is. The left turn onto Center, the right onto Canal is going to make this incomprehensible. I think that if you're going to follow through with this plan, you need to look much deeper into the traffic patterns in Lower Manhattan. You'll need to return the left turns onto Walker, onto Green and West Broadway, or you're going to devastate traffic there, or eliminate the traffic all the way across Walker Street as well, please. Thank you.
Next.
Hi, my name is Daisy Cito, and I am a member of Families for Safe Streets. I became a member after my mom at 89 and a half years old got hit by a turning SUV, and she died May of 2022. I work in Lower Manhattan. Sorry. I am supportive of the long overdue redesign of Canal Street. We need these changes now. We need hardened daylighting. We need traffic calming. We need curb extensions. It's really important for seniors, many of whom they use this area as pedestrians for shopping, going to the doctor, visiting friends. I support this plan because we must prioritize safety on Canal Street. Sorry. We must act now so no one else is killed or seriously injured in in a preventable crash like my mom was killed. I thank you all for giving me this time to speak.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Yu. I'm a member of CB1, and I live in Southbridge Towers by the seaport. This plan is incredibly flawed. It doesn't consider the realities that Manhattan is an island. It's dependent upon the movement of people and goods. The DOT has lost its focus. It doesn't account for capacity in transportation. For example, we have many events and festivals in Manhattan, Chinatown. What happens during the San Gennaro Festival? Think about the traffic, all the traffic that'll back up. Think about we have construction on the Brooklyn Bridge. What's going to happen? Closing of Walker Street at the end, it will create congestion. It'll reduce the commerce that we have in Manhattan. It doesn't make sense. I challenge the DOT, improve safety, but do it without compromising transportation capacity. It's always easy to close a lane, but it doesn't really deal with you're not dealing with solving a problem. You're just shifting it to something else. So instead of just closing a lane, reducing traffic capacity, making it more difficult to travel in Manhattan, improve safety, but do it without compromising the ability to move in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Zuckerman, congratulations on the new gig. Vaya con Dios. You're going to find out going to these things. My name is Bill Ferns. I'm a member of SALT, which is the Senior Advocacy Leadership Team. We work out of Manning Cantor Center. We're over on Grand Street and East Broadway, farther east. But we're in the 10002 zip code. The zip code has approximately 40% more seniors than most New York City zip codes. People in the disability community tell me the same percentage. Canal Street is hostile to older people and the people with mobility problems. I think if you look, the majority of the fatalities that have occurred in the area have been seniors because of the traffic problems. So things have to change, and this is a plan in the right direction. A couple of things I'd like to point out that other people have said about the traffic would be pushed to nearby streets. Well, they said that about 14th Street when they did bus lane. They said it would make 15th Street and 13th Street terrible. Never happened. So it's important to point that out. A lot of the things that people complain about enforcement, you have to go to the 5th Precinct Community Council meetings to talk to them. Okay, about that. Whether it's the vendors, whether I'm a bike rider, but I also ride a bike. I mean, I have a car and I also walk the streets. And yes, I do believe there could be more enforcement all around. But yeah, telling these folks about enforcement isn't going to make it happen. You have to show up at your community council meetings. And the last thing, real quick, is that I know the vendors are a problem, but the vendors are part of the system.
Thanks.
People come, my family come from Dallas, Texas to come shop on the streets of Chinatown with the vendors.
Thank you
so
much.
Want to eat. So be careful about getting rid of the vendors.
Thank you. Michael. Do we have Jean Ng online? Jean, how are you there and here? You're amazing.
Wait, I'm a professional engineer, practiced in New York over 40 years. I know what DOT do. I specifically want to highlight the off-ramp from the Manhattan Bridge towards Bowery. There was a horrific accident that happened as late as July this year. I have a couple of specific suggestions to DOT. One, do a study to see what is the average speed of the off-ramp cars coming through both way. Second, I want to suggest to DOT to install a couple of bumps and also install a speed camera, reduce the off-ramp speed down to 15 miles per hour and install speed camera, because that will have automatic enforcement, and that will every year, according to Chinatown Partnership, at least 4 people were killed on that off-ramp, all different ages, and I don't want to get into specific, the last incident in July. So therefore, those are the couple of specific things. I wish DOT next time will come back to this community to address the off-ramp speeding accident rate, how to reduce it. And I gave you specific suggestions, and I like to have specific answers from DOT. Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to stick in house right now. Ryder Kessler, and then we have Sue or Jessica Wong.
All right.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryder Kessler. I've lived in downtown Manhattan for over 40 years. I just turned 40, so I'm finally able to say that. It's the thing I was looking forward to. I'm a member of CB2, but just speaking as myself, in strong support of the plan, I think we know Canal Street needs fixes. It needs to be safer. We've had multiple people killed, dozens seriously injured, also lives shattered, hundreds injured over just the last few years. So we need these infrastructure changes to slow traffic and make Canal Street more equitable. In Assembly District 66, which is everything west of Broadway, only 5% of people commute to work by car. 65% are walking, biking, taking transit, and the rest are working from home. So we need to really serve everyone in the community. But on that note, I want to raise 3 things where I think there's particular attention needed. One of the big community concerns was bikes going the wrong way on the street. And I think we really need to make sure that we get bikes off the sidewalk and into protected bike lanes so that pedestrians are not threatened and injured or killed by bikes. I think a second thing is the vendors. There's a package of bills in the council right now. I don't know if Councilman Marte is still here, but he's a co-sponsor. It's a good set of bills to decriminalize some vending so that ICE can't go after folks with the aggression they have been, but also increase enforcement. So I would say encourage your council member to pass that. The third thing is the speed. I don't want to wait until 2026. And I made a friend earlier, Eileen, she had to leave. She lives down the block. She's very nervous about the noise. We should be doing this sooner and faster. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to stick in house. For anyone on Zoom, if you want to speak, you need to put a hand up. We're going to stay in house. Next is Ivo CM Kovic, Chai Lok, HHCT Board, SG170. Okay, thank you. Were you SG? Thank you. JVC11. Thank you. And we'll start with you here.
Hello, my name's Evo. I've lived in Lower Manhattan most of my life, CB2 and 3 for the last 6 years, and I worked at the intersection of Broadway and Canal for many years up until recently. I'm here in strong support of the plan. I think it broadly doesn't go far enough. I'm disappointed to see no bicycle infrastructure on Canal. Like going up to Grand is okay, but I don't understand why we have 7 lanes. I would like to see a 2-way bike lane on Canal if it was up to me. And just a word on the vendors, since that seems to be coming up a lot. I mean, someone pointed out recently, NYPD is not a division of DOT, so I think we need a yes and approach here. We probably should be asking for more and better enforcement, but this plan is like roughly good, and we should do that and enforcement. I think both of those things would be additive, and there's no reason to be saying one or the other. Like, let's just do both. I think that's well within our grasp here. And then the last thing I'd say is on the Walker Street closure, I mean, like, I liked it. I walked by. It seemed great. I would broadly like to see a lot more street closures that are kind of like these weird, you know, places where cars are kind of like inserting themselves into what would obviously be like a natural plaza. And I think, as someone said, on 14th Street, I used to live on 14th Street when I lived a little bit uptown. Like, people were really worried about that busway. And it happened, and it was great. And like, I'm extremely happy with that. And I think we would see similar things here if this plan were refollowed. So strongly in support. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Howard Huey. I lived in and around Chinatown for the past 70 years. I live north of Canal Street, south of Canal Street, east of Canal Street. And I go to Canal Street practically every day. I oppose the Canal Street redesign as it will affect hundreds of businesses on Canal Street.
There are better solutions that have been mentioned here to improve pedestrian traffic than to narrow the Canal Street. This will only back up traffic all along Canal Street. There are more safety problems caused by motorized bikes, and if you build a bike lane, they will come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I've lived in Chinatown for over 60 years and I oppose the redesign. There are very few crosstown streets in Lower Manhattan after the closures of Park Row and Duane Street. Canal and then Worth and Chamber, and Worth is not a fully crosstown street. So it is a very dumb idea to narrow critical Chinatown commercial corridor. We are a city of over 8 million. We need vehicles to deliver people and goods to people in the city and to pick up garbage. So to eliminate vehicles doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, I oppose narrowing of Canal Street. Emergency service vehicles will be severely impacted, as I see them now on Worth Street. Also, regarding the Manhattan Bridge accident, I saw two photos in the media of vans and cars that had crashed into the front of TD Bank, which is on the corner of Bowery and Canal Street. Why did the DOT not put bollards on the sidewalk where those accidents occurred? And if bollards were present around the triangle where those people were killed, they would still be alive today.
Thanks. We're going to continue in here and just folks, just for, it is 8 o'clock. But with the number of speakers that we still have left, we're going to keep it still at a minute and a half because not as many folks have been joining us on Zoom. So you still have a minute and a half. The next 5 up are Carol Friedman, Vicky, Vichui, Henry C, Xing Hua, and Mo BD. And if you could just say your name first, that would be helpful for us.
Sure. Carol Friedman. I've lived on Grand Street between West Broadway and Worcester for 40 years. I vehemently oppose the Canal Street plan, but I'm going to concentrate on Grand Street. You say there's no room for bike lanes on Canal Street. There is really no rooms for an extra bike lane on Grand Street. Our sidewalk, our north sidewalk is 92 inches. That's 7.5 feet. So if there's someone with a baby carriage or wheelchair and someone walking next to them, what happens all weekend long is that the pedestrians on those very narrow sidewalks, they walk in the street. They walk in the street and it's dangerous. As it is, there's one lane of traffic on Grand Street. You guys tortured every merchant in Little Italy and Chinatown. They can't get their deliveries. They're all my friends. I know them for 40 years. You're torturing the storefronts and anyone who has deliveries. But most important, it's dangerous. Come down there and look at how many pedestrians leave the narrow sidewalk to walk in the street. So you're going to add more traffic. Traffic is a bicycle and traffic is a car. I care nothing more than safety. I got hit by a car. I flew 20 feet in the air. So I commend you for trying to work things out for our safety. But Grand Street is packed to the rafters and it's going to create an unsafe situation. And my last thing is not have a turn. To not have a turn is going to, you think it might reduce traffic in Grand?
Thank you. Next. And if you could just say your name, I appreciate it.
Hi, yeah, my name is Victor Huey. I grew up in Chinatown. I've been here for 70 years plus. Chinatowns have existed in all the major cities, and they're always putting the community at the nexus of travel. Boston's Chinatown, New York's Chinatown, LA's Chinatown. And every time city decides to do something to Chinatown, where they close off East Broadway to build a little West Market Park, close Park Row, it cuts and kills the Chinatowns that exist. They did this to Boston's Chinatown, and you guys are trying to kill Chinatown, New York. When you start closing out the traffic, what happens? All the traffic goes on Worth. Now you want to redesign the Chatham Square. You have to see the whole picture of where the flow of the traffic is. And when you start closing one without, and then you close another, Park Row used to take the north-south traffic. Canal Street, that is the #2 most heavily trafficked road in the United States. You got to think bigger than what you're thinking, much bigger, because Chinatown has been here for 150 years. And don't kill Chinatown. Yeah.
My name is David Mulkins. I'm with the Bowery Alliance of Neighbors. And I would like to chime in and also mention the disastrous mega jail that is getting ready to descend upon Chinatown, unless something is done to stop it. And Park Row, I really think if the Department of Transportation wants to do its job, they should first deal with the issue of Park Row. It's an absolute disaster. I've listened and I've read several things by different groups, and it seems like, you know, your intentions are very good to try to deal with the problems of Canal Street. That's clear. But it seems like what's being proposed is creating a whole nother set of problems. And so I do not think that you are anywhere near the point at which you can move forward with a new plan. And you really should have on your team some of these articulate voices from the community, like Jan Lee and Sean Sweeney and other people that I could name, because they're the people that live here. And I think there's still a good ways to go, but thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're just going to call some folks that did not come up. Henry C. Henry Panix. Xinhua.
Oh, Sima gave me the time. He just gave it to me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I have Sima gave me his time? So no, I just want to supplement what I said before earlier.
Sir, you've already spoken. We can't do this. I'm sorry. Solar complexes. GT21 triple. Thanks.
Dennis Riddle. I'm going back 2 or 3 decades. I don't know what applies now, but I was told in a meeting that the parking was tax deductible if you want to drive your car into town to work. At that time, I know the subways, the public transportation was being subsidized. At that time, they were saying we could get a tax deduction for refusing to ride it, just drive our car in, which didn't make any common sense. You understand what I said? I heard proposing to charge the delivery trucks, put them in a kiosk and charge them. That will be passed on to us. It's like an extra tax. I had to drive trucks on Canal Street. I'll never ride a bicycle there. It doesn't make common sense either. There's people in the way, cars and trucks in the way. I have other ways. I go on my bicycle to the west side. Thank you.
Thanks. Next.
My name is Rob Sakota. I'm a resident of Community Board 1, and I used to work on the corner of Lafayette and White Street. I strongly support the redesign plan. If you've walked on Canal Street, you know it's too congested. It needs to be bigger, certainly east of Broadway. A number of people have brought up the fact that you can't do that without some change in the regulation of vendors, but I don't believe it's an either or. It needs to be both to improve the pedestrian experience. Certainly, if you've walked across Canal Street, you know it's dangerous. It's too long. There's too many cars and they're going too fast. There needs to be the extended sidewalks and the extended intersections that the DOT has proposed. If I had one change, I'd say you should do it in more places. West Broadway, Varick could probably use hardened intersections as well. And thirdly, if you've biked on Canal Street, you've probably taken your life into your hands. It's dangerous. I believe that the alternative on Grand is a great idea. It's a second best, but it'll do. And finally, the only thing you shouldn't do is wait more or study more. You need to move now. Thank you.
Thanks. Yep. Next.
Hi, my name is Triple Edwards, a community member, and I am staunchly against this terrible redesign. There's much to oppose about this redesign. We do not want to see curb extensions, sidewalk extensions, bike connections. If this sounds familiar, that's because this is a script that TA blasted to its legion of lobbyists to influence policy tonight, albeit it's my version because I oppose it. This is their MO, and yet you decision makers know it. And yet those numbers, you use it to justify your plans. This online survey of yeses, that is so front-loaded by TA. And they do not live in Chinatown, and they do not live with Canal Street every single day. I'm a bike rider. My life is alternative transportation. But there's an awful lot of talk about bike lanes and TA influence when the redesign is only proposing 2 blocks on Canal Street. Personally, I avoid a corridor that connects 2 major entry points in and out of Manhattan. Safety improvements do have to be addressed, but any plans that takes away traffic lanes is the wrong plan. The solution is to clear the lanes, and that can be done without construction, but by cracking down on placard abuse parking and clogging the corridors and illegal vendors taking over the already wide sidewalks. DOT needs to confront NYPD, not keep going around them at the expense of neighborhoods.
Okay, we're going to go with Chi Luck. All right, thank you. Henry Panix. Yale, okay. solarcomplexus@gmail.com. We have Yale Evelev. Okay. Thank you, Tammy. And then we have Astericky@gmail.com. Come on up. Not all at once. Okay, who do we have online, Tammy? John online. You can unmute. John Stewart.
There we go. I'm firmly opposed to this Grand Street bike lane. I am an avid cyclist, but let's call a spade a spade. We have no bike lanes left at all as it is. These are motorcycle lanes. Sometimes they have pedals on the bike, but the chain is usually rusted out and the pedals don't even really work. So first we have to get everybody with helmets, and we have to have licensing, and we have to have insurance, and then we can discuss adding more bike lanes. As it is now, we have complete chaos in the bike lanes we already have because there are no bicycles in the lanes. There's only what they call acoustic bikes, which are electric bikes. Electric bikes are not bicycles. So, and we're creating more congestion by undermining our own subway system with all these electric bikes. Now we have the subway is underutilized, and now we have the bikes all over the street. The city is making less money than they would if they had people using the subway system. As it is now, we can't think of more bike lanes. We have to think of how to get people wearing helmets and protecting the people. They're all over the sidewalk, riding both directions in the bike lanes. We're going about it wrong. We got to control what we have first, then we can think about
John, I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you very much. Okay, we're reaching the end of the list. So if there's anyone in the room who wants to speak but haven't, come on up. Come on up. Oh, no, 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 no. Not again. All right, let's start over here.
Let him go first.
Please say your name and then go ahead.
Leo, son of a troop Salmon. I'm Manhattan born and raised. I'd like to thank DOT for being here, all the community board members. I'm strongly supportive of the direction that this plan is taking. Today, Canal Street is one of the least pleasant and least safe corridors in Manhattan. Sidewalks are overcrowded, the traffic is constant, and for anyone biking, it's genuinely dangerous. The redesigned street dieting, wider sidewalks, and safer crossings aren't just cosmetic. They're essential to making this corridor usable for the people who live, work, and move through it. I'm also encouraged to see bike lanes included in the western portion of the plan, but to fully realize the goals of this project, we need protected and hardened bike lanes from 6th Avenue all the way to the Manhattan Bridge. Anything less leaves a critical gap on one of the city's most dangerous biking segments. This is also an economic issue. Pedestrian and bike safety is good for business. People walking and biking are the ones who shop, eat, and return to the neighborhood. Cars passing through at high speed do not. Making Canal more walkable is quite literally a small business strategy. Finally, I want to commend DOT for proposing to move loading zones onto side streets. That change will reduce double parking, clear up congestion, and make the main corridor far more welcoming for pedestrians and the businesses that depend on them. A bold redesign, one that centers people, not cars, will make Canal Street safer, calmer, and more economically vibrant. I urge DOT to take that final step and extend protected bike lanes across the entire corridor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Austin Celestin, and I want to go last because I wanted to try and give some different perspective. Because this was actually a project that I did for grad school last year. And we went around, we did surveys, stakeholder engagement, and there was one thing that was pretty common. They were sick of the surveys because they had already been surveyed to death. This has been ongoing since, 2010? I was in 3rd grade when 2010. I have a master's now. It's 15 years. So the one thing I think everybody can agree upon is that something needs to be done. We're complaining about, illegal vending, emergency vehicles. The situation is bad right now with the status quo. So something clearly needs to change. And we're talking a lot about, congestion during the day and the off-ramp on the Manhattan Bridge. But we're not talking about what happens at night. Just last March, there was a man in his 30s that was killed in a hit and run at 5 a.m. by a speeding SUV. With a street that wide, it actively encourages speeding. And we're talking about super sidewalks. The super sidewalk is all well and good, but you have to make it harden if you're going to do it at all, because at that point, it's just going to become more parking, illegal parking, which is a loss for everybody. There does need to be accommodations for loading and short-term parking. That is a very clear need, but there's also rampant placard abuse, especially on the east side. People are parking on the sidewalks, and the sidewalks are crammed as it is, with or without the vendors. So even if this plan is not perfect and needs a little bit of tweaking, you got to do something now. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Dr. Chen, we're
Yeah,
gonna make
I'm
sure-
I'm
we're gonna make
Represent-
sure that,
I'd like-
hold on. We're gonna make sure that everyone speaks before anyone else goes again. So let's let this gentleman go first. Thank you.
Thanks. My name's David Lawrence. I live on Grand Street. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm glad that we're addressing Canal Street. I've lived in Lower Manhattan for 45 years and primarily around Canal. Grand Street is a nightmare right now because none of the lights are synchronized. We have bumper to bumper traffic pretty much from West Broadway all the way over to Allen Street. And you now want to dump more traffic onto Grand. Grand and Canal are the only two streets that go all the way across. And Grand is one way for about 2/3 of it. So I'm also against the elimination of left-hand turns. I think you're asking for a lot of trouble there. And also terminating Walker Street at Canal is a huge mistake, I believe. You're cutting traffic down all over the place. We live in the oldest part of Manhattan. Everything below 14th Street and particularly below Canal Street was built for horse and buggies. And we have, unfortunately, the world outside of our island imposes itself on us every day as inhabitants. We need to mitigate some of that. The pollution on Canal Street is incredibly excessive, and cutting 6 lanes down to 4 will only increase the pollution and the honking. My solution is that we need
Thank you.
cameras on
Time's
every
up.
single intersection, aggressively issuing tickets, and we need
Thank you, sir.
policemen on every
Time is up. Thank you.
controlling the traffic.
Thank you.
That's
All right. We're going to go online first. We have a couple more. Hold on. Let's get to, yeah, no problem. Who do we have online, Tim? Victoria Hillston. And Darlene.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Victoria Hillstrom. I have been a resident of Tribeca for over 40 years. This is the triangle below Canal, where traffic is backed up to the Holland Tunnel for hours, and there are one-way streets. This has become a matter of e-commerce versus commerce. I design stores and venues around the world. The question is why we would seek to make it easier to rob Chanel at gunpoint while thieves speed off on motorized vehicles, leaving retailers uninsurable. We've seen the very serious implications from Herald Square to Times Square with e-bikes, bike lanes, and open streets that introduced crime and caused retail theft to skyrocket. NYPD cannot control for 15 years. It's so dangerous, office workers refuse to return. It takes 30 minutes for the police to arrive. Now the DOT seeks to obstruct the first precinct's egress to catch criminals. It defies form and function, while DOT shutters New York's economy in favor of tech apps, an unregulated industry that refused to pay their share of taxes on the West Coast. I've advised our luxury retailers to reduce
10
their
seconds.
footprint entirely. Tribeca, Soho, and NoHo and the Seaport understand this issue better than anyone. This is an area where we adapted industrial
Thank you,
buildings
Victoria. Your time's
used
up.
for manufacturing and
Appreciate
storage.
the comments. Thank you, Victoria. And we have Darlene Lutz. Darlene, you can unmute.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. Good evening. My name is Darlene Lutz. I'm a longtime resident of Soho West. That is just above Canal Street. The issues of traffic are well known, as some of my neighbors who have already been on this Zoom tonight have voiced. Things have changed. We realize that. This seems to be quite generational in the understanding of how the city works. And as you get older, and you will, I guarantee you, the Earth movement started in 1973. I remember it well. We're still here. And you will be here as well. So as you age, it has become very, very hot. It's become very hostile. And the reason it's become hostile is because we have uncontrolled motor vehicles, two-wheelers, everywhere in the city now. They are not conforming to the laws and regulations. We know this. These designs on paper are not considering the human
10
factor.
seconds.
So take the human factor. You want to build more, you want to bring more, you want more high density in Manhattan, in lower Manhattan in particular.
Thank you,
And
Darlene.
we have
Your time is
struck.
up, unfortunately. We
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Anyone else? Unfortunately, we can't allow people to go twice. We'll be here all night, back and forth. I'm sorry. We gotta stick to our rules. I'm sorry. Thank you. If you haven't spoken, we can't do that either. Yeah, if you could speak yourself, but we're not sharing time here. We're not. We can't do that. Yeah, you could speak yourself, but we can't share time. Okay. Well, thank you. Not today, not today. I'm sorry, you've spoken already. We can't, I'm sorry. We have rules. We have to stick to them. Anyone else? Guys, we got to draw the line somewhere. Do you want to speak? Now we still have, introduce yourself.
Just a quick question. Deliveries could be made perhaps in the middle of the night or something, and maybe that would help. Or there could be special parking garages that people could go into. That needs to be part of the planning because deliveries are a fact of life. You don't want to ruin the businesses. And maybe they could somehow be organized in, on off hours.
Thank you. This is your chance, last chance. Okay, I'm gonna hand it over back to Janine now.
I think we are done tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming who's still here. I want to thank the DOT for patiently sitting here, listening to a lot of these comments. And I just want to talk about next steps. Each community board is going to have its individual meeting. Community Board 1 is on December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. That's for the transportation. 6 p.m. for Community Board. That's the Transportation Committee. Community Board 2's Traffic and Transportation Committee will be Thursday, December 4th at 6:30. And Community Board 3's will be December 10th at 6:30. So we'll have representatives from the DOT will most likely be participating via Zoom. We'll get into the weeds on things. We'll answer specific questions. So you're welcome to go to your respective community board, and then we'll be getting each of the community boards will get out information about how to submit comments, additional comments online for those of you who weren't able to make it tonight. Thank you, everyone. And if everyone could take your trash as you leave, and thanks for making this a productive and respectful meeting.